So, in this lecture, we will discuss about ocean currents. And before starting ocean currents, we would like to discuss 4 to 5 lines regarding Indian Ocean, and that is in relating to those islands found in Indian Oceans, in particularly Andaman Nicobar Reefs, the Carlsbad Reefs. These regions divide the ocean bottom into many basins. Chief among these are the Central Basin, the Arabian Basin, South Indian Basin, West Australian and South Australian basins. Most of the islands in the Indian Oceans are continental islands and are present in the north and west. These include the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Sri Lankan, the Madagascar and Zanzibar, the Lakshadweep and Maldives or Coral Islands and Mauritius. The western section of the Indian Ocean is almost free from islands. So now we'll go to ocean currents. Ocean current in the general movement of a mass of water in a fairly defined directions over great distances. Of all the movements in the oceanic water, ocean currents are the most important. So now we'll discuss about the warm currents and cold currents. These are 2 types of ocean currents. Warm currents are those which flow from the low latitudes in tropical zones towards the high latitudes in the temperate and subpolar zones. Similarly, cold currents are those which flow from the high latitudes towards the low ones. So now would like to discuss about the very currents of Pacific Ocean. Under the influence of prevailing trade winds, the north equatorial current starts from the west coast of Central America and traverses a distance of 14,500 kilometers, moving from east to west before it turns northward of the Philippines to form the Croatia current from the southeast coast of Japan. Under the influence of prevailing westerlies, the current turns eastwards and moves to the North Pacific current, reaches the west coast of North America, and bifurcates into 2. The northern branch flows anti-clockwise along the coast of British Columbia and Alaska and is known as the Alaska Current. The water of this current is relatively warm as compared to the surrounding waters in this zone. The southern branch of this current is otherwise known as, which moved as a cold current along the west coast of United States of America and is known as the California current. The California current joins the north equatorial current to complete the circuit. Also, there are 2 cold currents in the northern Pacific, such as the Passia flows across the east coast of Kamchatka Peninsula to merge with the warmer waters of Croatia. The Okhotsk current flows past Sakhalin Island to merge with the Asia current of Hokkaido, following the pattern in the northern hemisphere. The south equatorial current flows from the east to west and turns towards southwards as the east Australian current. It then meets the South Pacific current near Tasmania, which flows from west to east, reaching the southwestern coast of South America. It turns northward as the Peru current. It is a cold current which finally feeds the south equatorial current, thus completing the Great Circuit. And now we'll discuss about the currents of the Atlantic Ocean. As in the Pacific Ocean, the two equatorial currents move from east to west in northern and southern hemispheres, and a counter equatorial current flows from west to east. The south equatorial current bifurcates into two branches near the Cape de São Roque, which is in Brazil. Its northern branch reinforces the north equatorial current. Part of the combined current enters the Caribbean Sea and the Mexican Gulf, while the remainder passes along the eastern side of the West Indies as the Antilles current. At this stage, there is a rise in water level in the Mexican Gulf because of large amounts driven by trade winds and because of water brought by the Mississippi River. As a result, a current flows out through the Strait of Florida to joined by the Antilles current from the south. This combined current moves along the east coast of United States of America and is known as the Florida current up to the Cape Hatteras, and as the Gulf Stream beyond that. From the Grand Banks, the Gulf Stream flows eastward across the Atlantic as the North Atlantic drifts. The main motive force for this current is supplied by the prevailing southwesterly winds. The North Atlantic current breaks up into two branches. On reaching the eastern part of the ocean, the main current continuing as the North Atlantic drift reaches the British Isles, from where it flows along the coast of Norway as the Norwegian current and enters the Arctic Ocean. The southerly branch flows between Spain and Azores as the cold Canary current. This current finally joins the North Equatorial current, completing the circuit in the North Atlantic. The Sargasso Sea lying within the circuit is full of large quantities of seaweed. The two cold currents, the East Greenland current and the Labrador current, flow from the Arctic Ocean into the Atlantic Ocean. The Labrador current flows along part of the east coast of Canada and meets the warm Gulf Stream. The confluence of these two currents are hot and the other cold produces the famous fogs around Newfoundland. As a result of mixing of cold and warm waters, one of the world's most important fishing grounds is created. In the South Atlantic Ocean, the South Equatorial Current flowing from east to west splits into two branches near Cape de Chau in Brazil. The northern branch joins the North Equatorial Current, whereas the southern branch turns southward and flows along the South American coast as the Brazil Current. The Brazil Current swings eastward at about latitude 35 degrees south to join the west wind drift flowing from west to east. A branch of the South Atlantic Current flows along the west coast of South Africa as the cold Benguela Current, which joins the South Equatorial Current to complete the circuit. Another cold current is the Falkland Current, flows along the southeastern coast of South America from south to north. And now we'll discuss regarding the currents of the Indian Ocean, being only half of an ocean completely landlocked in the north. The characteristics current circulation of the Indian Ocean is different from that of Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean. In the northern section of the Indian Ocean, there is a clear reversal of currents between winter and summer. In winter, the North Equatorial Current and the South Equatorial Current flow from east to west. A counter equatorial current flows from the west to east between the two equatorial currents. The north east monsoons drive the water along the coast of Bay of Bengal to circulate in an anti-clockwise direction. Similarly, along the coast of the lands bordering the Arabian Sea, an anti-clockwise circulation current develops. In summer, a strong current flows from west to east, which completely obliterates the English Channel. In particularly obliterate North Equatorial Current during this season. It is due to the effects of the strong southwest monsoon and the absence of the northeast trades. There is no counter-equatorial current at this time of the year, thus the circulation of water in the northern part of the ocean is clockwise during this season. The southern part of the Indian Ocean is less marked by the seasonal changes. The general pattern of circulation is simple and is anti-clockwise, like that of the other southern oceans. The southern equatorial current, partly led by the corresponding current of the Pacific Ocean, flows from east to west and thus southward along the coast of Mozambique in Africa. The current flowing through the Mozambique Channel is known as the warm Mozambique Current. Farther southward, The Mozambique current is joined by another branch of the South Equatorial Current flowing past Madagascar Island. After the confluence of these two streams, it is known as the Agulhas current. It is still continues to be a warm current till it merges with the west wind drift. So, what is west wind drift? That flowing across the ocean in the higher latitudes from west to east reaches the southern tip of the west coast of Australia. One of the branches of this cold current turns northwards along the west coast of Australia. This current, known as the West Australian current, flows northward to feed the South Equatorial current. So, after ocean currents in our next upcoming lecture, we'll discuss about tides and in particularly the spring tides and the Neap tides. Then we'll discuss about the coral reefs. They are very many and types of coral reefs, in particularly the Fringing Reef and Barrier Reef. Then we'll discuss about the marine resources in the different forms such as mineral resources, biotic resources, energy resources. Then how energy is derived from tides.